one of the problems that we're having is that, yes, there's a lag time between when people get the information as far as how their personal economy is improving or will improve, and when the media started to pick it up. That's why it was great to see Steve Ratner today, given his charts and the way that Morning Joe went ahead and did the particular interviews. Again, inflation is still there, but wages are going up at a higher rate than inflation, which is what gives you more purchasing power. It takes a while to settle all in, but we are on the right track. The last thing we need is somebody that comes in like Bush came in right after Clinton, or like Trump came in right after Obama, to just destroy the building blocks of the economy. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
It is inflation when you really dig into the numbers. And younger Americans having trouble buying gasoline, having trouble buying groceries, and most importantly, trouble getting their first home. It is inflation that is driving them away from the Biden administration. The inflation data yesterday revealed some good news for cash-strapped shoppers. Grocery prices dropped for the first time in a year. Food prices fell by 0.2% in April, according to the Labor Department's Consumer Price Report.
It is the first drop in a year. Eggs led the decline, with prices dropping more than 7%. Steve Ratner is over at the wall with charts to break it all down.
The inflation data is critical to the election, and it has not gone well so far, but this may be the beginning of a better trend. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday, which was that the Bureau of Labor Statistics announced their latest data, and inflation is now, this is headline, we call headline, all the goods, up 3.4% year over year. And then we take out food and energy because they move around a lot, 3.6. But you can see what was happening, that we had gotten inflation down. It stalled out. It actually increased a little bit. And now we have somewhat better news. And I'm going to show you both in the financial markets and in public opinion, consumer sentiment, how that's affected. But what's also really important to note is that, a bunch of stuff is still going up. Car rental insurance is a really small part. It's 6% of the index. It's not something people buy every day. When you start to look at what people buy every day, you see food up 2.6%. 2.2% year over year. Get these lined up. Food up 2.2% year over year. Energy, gasoline, home heating, all that stuff up 2.6% year over year. And then goods, anything you buy, a piece of merchandise, actually down 1.3% year over year, led by furniture, appliances, and so forth. And so it is a picture of inflation that perhaps the average American doesn't fully appreciate. How much prices have moderated, especially for the things they buy every day. Yeah,
but Steve, let's look at housing up there. We're talking about housing, and you look at young voters. If you look at housing, if you look at the cost of cars, we were just talking about offset, how automobiles, used automobiles still, it's just, I was out last night at an event, and people were talking about how hard it is to still get a decent car. Well, and by a decent car, I'm not talking about one of your Rolls Royces.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
cars.
A Ford Fusion, if they even make one of those anymore.
Well, look, first on housing, yes, housing is still going up. The big problem on housing, as you know, is simply the affordability of a new house. House prices are still high, but mortgages are also high, which means the affordability, the ability of someone to afford a mortgage, literally, has gone down so much that for many young people, an 8% mortgage just makes a house unaffordable. And that's a huge problem. And one of the good things about the CPI numbers is it may give the Federal Reserve some leeway to cut interest rates a bit, which would bring down mortgage rates a bit. Yeah. It's not going to be dramatic between now and November, but maybe a little bit of help.
Steve, why is car rental and insurance so expensive?
There's a whole, it's a longer conversation.
It's 11.5%. And it's not that I'm complaining. It's just like, if you're working and your work makes you fly from city to city, let's say you're in insurance or you're in finance or you just there, the people every week I see on planes, and that's what they do. And so they get off the plane and then they have to go and they're dealing with still 11, 12% increase in what car rentals cost. Man, it cuts into their salary.
It does. This is only 6% of the index. Let's start with that. Secondly, a lot of it is driven by insurance. And this is a longer discussion probably for CNBC, but insurance rates are going up across. Insurance
want to talk to us about it.
I'm happy to talk about it. You tell me when to stop.
It's over your heads, guys.
Tell me when to stop.
For the money people.
Keep going.
I like purple. Go to the next chart.
All right, go to the next chart. You want to ask me something, or should I just plunge?
No, talk about wages.
Please, I don't think there's anything
How are
that
wages
I could ask
doing?
you that would
Steve,
rise
I
to the
know
level of your expertise.
We're not CNBC anchors.
Yeah.
I don't have the lingo.
So what do you got, Steve? Wages. This is the key point yesterday. Somebody was complaining to me about inflation. I said, well, the real key is whether wage increase is keeping up with the inflation increase, because you don't want deflation.
If you go back to when inflation was high back in 2022, it absolutely did not keep up. Wages absolutely did not keep up. But since inflation has moderated faster than wages have come down, have also moderated. And so you have had, Joe, to your point, from well more than a year now, wage increases running above inflation increases. 4% on average for wages, 3.4% for inflation. Not a huge difference, but positive purchasing power. And if you looked at the bottom quarter of Americans, they have done materially better than this 4%. And so for the bottom group of Americans, their purchasing power has actually increased by more than this.
The history of this country from the early 1980s onward are the rich were getting richer, the poor were getting poorer. Post-COVID, actually, the lower third, lower half of Americans actually were getting ahead for the first time and doing better for the first time. Are we still there? Are some of those safety net measures, post-COVID measures, are they now running out? And are we returning to the old model of the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer?
No, income inequality is actually still narrowing. But the reason it's narrowing, the post-COVID programs certainly helped for a while. They are phasing out. But what really helps is the fact that we're running the economy with a very low unemployment rate. And so what that means is that employers have to pay more to get their workers. And you couple that with a lot of the minimum wage increases that were imposed during COVID and things like that, there's actually more demand for lower end workers than for higher end workers. And so they pay more at the lower end. And that is really what is driving this significant increase in wages. And Americans don't appreciate it, but their purchasing power is going up at this moment.
And that's it, folks. It turns out that wages are going up at a faster pace than inflation, which is what you actually want, more purchasing power. And the thing that's happening that didn't happen before because of the social programs that were instituted and because we've been able to keep unemployment low is, again, what? Wages continue to rise based on policy, And now with us bringing a whole lot of jobs from overseas back, if we continue that and we get more of the progressive agenda passed in the second in Biden's second administration, then all will be fine. But it's up to Americans not to screw up once again and hire somebody that's going to destroy their personal economy.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.